What's up, y'all? Welcome back to 3-Star Draw. I am down south 77, and with me, as you can see, is my cousin.
Pop Blender, ready to get going on my list of G.I. Joe Classified 2024. Top 10.
Yeah, we did this last year. We did a versus list. My list is already done. It's out. Hopefully, you guys have checked that out. If you hadn't, go watch it. But you can watch this one first. It doesn't matter. So we call this our versus list, our cousin versus cousin list.
That's right.
And he's ready to get down. We brought our funky hats. He's got his Yukon Jack hat that he had on last year.
Making a return.
So we brought it back for this year. So we're going to go run down. He's going to give us his top 10 favorite figures for this year, and then I'll let him know what mine is because we've not conferred on these again.
No, not at all. So it'll be kind of, my number 10, and then after we talk about it, you'll tell me what your number 10 was.
Yep.
And we'll just work our way with a couple honorable mentions and a most disappointing, right?
Yep, that's how we did it last year, and it seemed to work. You guys seem to like it, so hopefully we will get the same thing out of that this year. We've been really secretive about he's come in here and got his figures aside, and I haven't seen them, so we're going to go ahead and get set up and get ready to give y'all number 10. Wrote a top 10 list about it. Want to hear it? Here it go. Number 10. What you got for number 10, cuz?
All right. We'll go ahead and put a few accessories up here. Number 10. Carl Doc Greer.
It's a good figure, man. So
yeah, it is a good figure.
How
let's spin him around a little bit, shall we?
Yeah, there you go. And then you might have to press that 2 more times. It's going super fast. And
Hey,
Doc might go
that's
flying
how
off.
Doc lives his life,
Yeah.
actually.
He might go flying off and need a Doc himself.
That could actually be fun for the video.
to get wolf
And then he had to
over
give
here.
himself some first aid. I don't know. I think they nailed this guy. I think they absolutely nailed it. Flare gun, got the stretcher, obviously the different packs.
Very modular.
Got the helmet, but the color, and not just his color.
That's right.
The uniform color.
That's right.
I don't know, man.
Both colors.
I just, I was excited when they announced him.
Yes.
And I think that they really did nail this guy. I don't know what else really that I can say. I mean, he comes loaded with everything that you need. I mean, I guess the only other thing, and that might be something with a character like Lifeline, would be like some kind of briefcase or something like that, right?
Yeah, and Lifeline did have a briefcase.
Yes.
So.
So maybe once we see him, that'll be an accessory. But yeah, my number 10 is Doc. I just think this guy looks fantastic out of all the ones we got, and that's where he's at on my list.
Yeah, they completely nailed Doc. I love this figure. Like you, I was really happy when he was announced. He was one of those that we were kind of hoping came with the Dragonfly.
Yeah, that was a hope for sure.
But now, looking back, like him and Airborne were two that I really wanted with the Dragonfly when we were waiting on getting those figures announced. But looking back at how we got those guys now, I am kind of glad that we didn't, because they'd have been Night Force.
Yeah, they'd have been Night Force.
So I'm glad we didn't. Get
I would
them that
much
way.
rather have this version.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
And even with Airborne, same thing, right? I love the colors in that uniform as well. But yeah, so Doc's my number 10, man. I love this guy.
Doc's great, man. That's a good pick.
What about you?
So for my number 10, my number 10 pick is actually Quick Kick.
Okay, that's a surprise.
Quick Kick made my list.
Really?
That shirtless bastard made my list.
Yeah.
Nipples and all.
I am a little surprised that he made your top 10 list.
Yeah.
I like the fudgy bar accessory, right?
That put it over the top, was the fudgy bar.
I do think the different heads didn't quite, there's not a lot of difference in them.
Yeah.
But he is a good looking figure. I mean, it's a good representation, period.
Yeah,
right?
I mean, they nailed it. I mean, that's what I look for is, does it nail the character, what it represents and all that. And I mean, he did. He's not one of my favorite characters. I don't really even like him, very much.
They also didn't alter him.
No.
Really, hardly at all. I mean, what you see is what you get.
Yeah.
Accessory wise, just, I think probably the three, the stars, in motion kind of
Ninja
thing.
stars.
Yeah, little ninja stars.
You get your ninja.
But yeah, they didn't do a lot with him, which I think most people are probably happy with.
Yeah, and we got, we like you said, the ninja stars in motion with the motion blur thing
Right.
throwing them. So I think that's the first time we've seen that in Classified so far.
And he has a lot. He actually has quite a bit that comes with him.
So he's got the two nunchucks.
Double nunchucks, yeah.
That look better than nunchucks.
Right.
How much nunchuck
Right.
would a nunchuck chuck if a nunchuck could
Chuck.
chuck? So,
A nun.
none.
Yikes.
None at all.
Ain't no nunchuck in here, y'all.
No,
So get
nope.
that crap out of your heads.
No, not a bit. Not a bit.
But yeah. Number 10 is Doc for you. It is Quick Kick.
Yep. Good,
Awesome.
Good pick.
Great.
Number
9.
I love it. Oh, it's so much fun.
You ready?
I'm ready.
All right. Number 9. I gotta adjust this guy.
Okay. I'll kind of
just a
look
little.
over here at this ring
Only
light.
because of the way that you actually had him in your setup.
Okay.
So cut this down a few notches. All right. Yeah, only because the way you had him set up. So
Yeah, most of my guys are in static poses, but I do have a few that are kind of posed about, I guess you could say. So. Oh, there he goes. Number 9, Airborne. Take 2.
all right. Franklin, Airborne, Tall Tree, Native American. Finally represented in the G.I. Joe Classified line. Well, not finally. We did have
We
Spirit.
had Spirit pretty early, and Airborne was first in Real American Hero.
I had to get that out anyway. He's been stepped on. He's been pushed back. But he's finally here.
Finally got him.
Yeah, man. I love this guy. Absolutely love this guy. And like we just discussed, if he'd have come in Night Force colors, I wouldn't have liked him as much.
Yeah.
I think it would have totally muted him, and he'd have been just like any other. He might have even just been like just a green shirt, right?
Yeah,
in a
almost.
sense.
Yep.
But I love the colors. I think they nailed the design. But this uniform right here for me, I love it, man. Dark brown. You get the not even really tan, but that light.
It's like a khaki.
Yeah,
almost.
and maybe a light khaki. The blue is awesome, and then obviously with the green, the green belt or the green bottom of the jacket, rather, I guess really where it clips like buckles or whatever. Yeah, man, I don't know. I remember when I got this guy too. I wasn't sure, and I liked the pictures, and I liked the what we saw, renders and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But once I got him in hand, he just looks different enough, but not crazy wild, futuristic, or they didn't have to do a lot with him.
He's a good update.
And there's good sculpting on the vest too.
Mm-hmm.
And I think with the night vision, the helmet, obviously he's got the glasses, but I love with the grenade, the knife holster on the front, right? And you see that there, the elbow pads and the arm pads that come up a bit. And the thing of it is, and I'll tell you, people will watch this and they'll say, well, those are reused parts. Those are reused legs. That's But honestly, for me, I don't pay as much attention to that.
Yeah, I don't keep up with it either.
You know-
Like in my reviews, when I review stuff, I'm like, well, I think these arms belong to somebody else.
I just don't think about that stuff.
As long as it makes a new character that
Yeah.
looks, I'll take reused body parts to make a new character over just a repaint any day.
Yeah, absolutely. And so anytime there's anything added or whatever, it helps. But yeah, reused parts, it doesn't bother me as much.
Yeah.
I'm just thinking about the guy, the figure. Do I have a connection? I remember having to trade to get this dude way
It was
back in the
hard
day.
to get back in the day.
Yes, and so, and especially when it came to where you fell into the collecting part of it.
Yeah.
And then as I tried to acquire, especially that original 13 or so, trading with kids and all this, and I got to get Steeler, even though I didn't, you know, he didn't come with anything, right? I just wanted the figure.
Oh,
and
he
I knew
had
that
the little flip.
yeah, the little
visor.
visor. But overall, they were hard to get, and he's kind of one of those that reminds me of that time period. And maybe that's why I just really, you know, like him that much. But I think they knocked it out of the park with this figure. He's my number 9.
Yep, they did a great job.
And it's kind of, for me, like Doc, just a good take on that classic figure that you had.
One of the early figures that we're finally getting. And what do you think about the vest being darker? You know, the original, it was that kind of brighter turquoise. Would you have rather seen that?
I actually really... Man, that's tough. Had they done it, I probably would feel the same way.
Yeah.
You know, like I probably would have been like, yeah, absolutely. But at the same time, we've seen with some of these figures where to update them a little bit, they've needed to either mute colors, change just enough of the shade to where it doesn't look so outrageous. Because the reality is, there's still, obviously there are figures, especially in Cobra, where they are outrageous looking. But at the same time, I think that they try to mute and do other things to make it at least current day, whether that's a camo pattern or whatever, and bring it up to where we're at now, and it doesn't look so, especially with the Joes, I think. You know, you're going to have a few of them we're going to get, I'm sure, that are really way out there eventually.
Oh, yeah.
But with him, I do like this. I did like the old school, you know, as well. But I think this is fine. Had it come the other way, I'd probably still have him on my list.
Yeah,
to be quite honest with you.
I think so too. I feel the same way when I first saw it. It's like, man, why did they darken the blue so much? It looks good, but it don't look right. But having him, like, he looks fine. Yeah. I'm like you. I would have liked to seen it the other way, but not enough to detract for me. I think he looks great, and same thing. If they had gone with the turquoise blue, I'd have really liked it just as much.
Right.
So.
I just don't know that you're seeing a lot of turquoise blue out there in the field, you know, and so maybe that's part of it.
Yeah, it's
right?
more of a earthy.
We're not in the 80s anymore.
Yeah, that's more of a earthy tone, and it blends. Honestly, it blends better with his uniform than the lighter turquoise does.
Right.
It's more of a kind of goes together natural, because it was really stark with the original. Looked good, but I mean, it stood out, you know.
Right. I mean, but the paint app at the bottom of the vest, you know, obviously with the helmet, matches the helmet, right? And then the gloves and the boots. So yeah, man, I love it. You know, obviously not a lot of accessory-wise backpack other than guns, knife, right? You know, the usual fare. But yeah, so he's my number 9, Airborne. Love him.
Good pick. So for number 9, go down the list here. So number 9, I actually have Naugahyde.
Okay.
With pork belly and yellow.
Right, yeah.
It's a figure that I passed. I was going to pass on until I got him on clearance, and then I got him on that Walmart sale when they screwed the price up. And, so I actually got him for price of Airborne.
That's great.
But I was really amazed with how much I liked that set. So, you know, he's not my favorite Dreadnought by any means, and I don't like poachers, but the figure and what does it do? Does it nail everything? Does it, hit all the marks?
Yeah.
And he come with so much stuff.
Yes.
So that figure looks so good. So I'd have never thought at the beginning of the year that he would have made my top 10 list, but so my number 9 is actually Naugahyde.
Okay. Yeah. I like it.
All right. Let's move on. Move on down the road.
Number 8. Number 8. William Wild Bill Hardy.
Yeehaw!
You son of a bitch. I mean, what can you say?
I'm so
Some
happy to get
people-
this damn figure.
Some people don't give a damn about the Dragonfly. Some people don't give a damn about the other figures that came with it. Some people only want this figure. And I can understand why.
I was looking forward to this figure more than I was the whole helicopter.
Right?
So.
I understand that. Now, conversely for me, once I opened it up, put it together, I'm like, ooh, yeah. This is right. Oh yeah, this is right up my alley.
It's the cream of the crop.
It's the
Rise
cream
to
of
the
the
top.
That's right. Snap it into a dragonfly. But, man, once I got this dude out and like looked at him this past week, because I had not opened.
You hadn't opened. You hadn't opened them. I thought you had by now. So you just opened your figures.
So I got him out for this. Yeah, man. Like I guess for some people, maybe one thing someone might have done was say put him in jeans, maybe or something like that. But it's a flight suit.
Yeah, I mean you can't argue with that choice.
No. So the flight suit, while simple, right? It looks fantastic.
Yep.
This is everything he needs with the holsters, the traditional Wild West belt, right?
Gunfighter.
You even have your molding on here on the sides, right? The guns look fantastic with the pearl white handles, which is what they're supposed to be, with the gold star,
with the Lone Star on.
The patch with the dragonfly on the right shoulder. On the left shoulder, obviously, you have the United States flag. But the blue hat really sets it off. Even on the gloves, with the molding on the gloves, right? And you've got the long gloves, too. They're not just,
Gloves.
Yes, they come up right here, right? Who better, obviously, to represent the southern part of the United States than Wild Bill, right? But the hat itself, I mean, there's just so much to like about this figure, and I know some people are mad, right? We did get we've gotten drivers, or we've gotten a driver without a vehicle, right? And so some people probably wanted this guy as just by himself.
Yeah.
If he's numbered, right? And that's tough.
Behind the paywall.
It's tough. It's behind the paywall, but it is for a reason. And I think this guy just, the mustache, everything, man, they just nailed it with him. So
he looks great.
So he is my number 8, William Wild Bill Hardy.
Yeah, I love that figure, man. The only issue that I have with him at all is I wish the guns had a little bit more like metallic look to them, rather than the just a kind of dull gray. And he's a little bit loose. Like my copy of Wild Bill, he's a little bit like his legs. They're a little bit loose. I mean, he's still posable. You can still play with him, but he's like the least tight figure out of the whole Dragonfly crew. So that was a bit of a letdown for me. But as far as aesthetics, I mean, he's everything I wanted in a Wild Bill figure. So I love the flight suit. I think we're going to get this guy in probably a retro card. I think this is one people would want enough that they would do a retro card and do him in Sunbow colors, maybe.
Yeah.
Give him a white hat, maybe, perhaps.
Right.
But I love it. Good choice. He ought to be on the top 10. So for number 8, I actually had a different driver pilot. I had Clutch.
Okay.
Clutch was my number 8 figure. I love that figure. Clutch was perfect. I mean, everything about that figure. I made a whole video about Clutch, saying, Hasbro, please don't mess Clutch up.
Right.
And they didn't. I'd like to think it was because of my video.
Yeah, he looks great. Well, no, I guarantee it was because of the video.
They heard me this year.
They sent me an email.
Oh, did they?
Yeah, they told Lenny actually sent me an email. Personal communication, folks. That's what that's called. First name basis.
That's good.
I can't remember his last name, but first name basis.
First and then only. Ask him where Battle Armor Cobra Commander is next time you talk to him. So
I got a bone to pick with Full Force too on that.
Oh,
talk about a fake out freaking thumbnail.
Yeah.
What's up with that?
Yeah. Yeah. That was,
anyway.
Yeah, that was funny. So, I noticed that too. So all right. So I had Clutch at Wild Bill. So that was our number 8 picks. So all right.
Let's do it.
Number 7.
Cobra Techno Viper makes number 7.
I knew he'd be on your list somewhere.
On my list, baby. Purple. Love the color. Loved it back in the day.
There he goes.
Number 7. Cobra Techno Viper. Love the color. He smells great.
It was like violets and
Violet, yeah, something like that. Yeah,
lavender,
sandalwood.
lavender.
Lavender, if you will. Yeah, no, they nailed it. This is basically a 1-for-1, except with the new like digital or hologram, holographic
Yeah, he has
display.
he has Pornhub pulled up.
He might actually. I mean, dude, with that mask, that outfit, he's a freak. But no, I think they nailed it with the tools, the backpack, the hose, and see, shiny hose.
Yeah.
We were just talking about Wild Bill and the guns.
Yeah.
Conversely, we actually get this shiny hose.
Yep.
The gun is great representation of the original, basically. And so I just think they nailed it. I think this is just a classic look. I always liked this guy. And so
He's rock. If you guys can't see, every time the turntable goes around, he moves back and forth.
Yeah,
so.
he's been interesting. And some people would say, well, you can't get him to stand. I mean, look, he's on a lazy Susan, man.
Yeah,
you know,
he's moving.
Like he's moving. So, and at the slowest speed possible.
Yeah, right.
But I think overall they nailed it, man. He is one of my faves, definitely, and he's my number 7. So Cobra Techno Viper takes it for me.
Yep. I was super excited when they announced this guy and we saw we were getting him. Like you, it's a perfect update, almost a 1-for-1 recreation. The only issue really was they should have given him 2 hoses so he could use his gun and one of his tools, and all of his little pneumatic tools. They're all plasma tools, whatever you want to call them. They're all just kind of small. And they're really bendy, but that's not really that big of a deal with those because he's just going to hold them, one way, 2 ways with two-handed or whatever.
Yeah, right.
I do wish he'd have come with 2 hoses.
I can't argue with that because he does have another spot for it. Right? And, of course, if you did get a couple of these guys and you want to, obviously take one off the other, mix and match, I'm sure you can find, if you want to buy a couple extra hoses, I'm sure there's people that will sell them to you.
Oh, yeah.
Right? So, but I'm with you there. A couple hoses to be able to dual wield, so to speak.
Yeah.
But I just think overall, man, like he's one of my favorites, and I like this guy, man. He looks great.
And I mean, I liked him so much, I picked him for the Traveling Cobra. He's
right.
Tuco Viper's out there somewhere making the rounds right now, so he's a Techno Viper. So
might get picked up on Santa's sleigh and hitch a ride somewhere else.
I wish he would.
Yeah.
I wish Santa would drop him off at a couple stops.
You and me both.
Oh, man. So, all right. So, my number 7 on my list, consult my list here. So, we've already looked at my number 7 was Doc. He's a little higher on my list. Really liked the way they did Doc. We've talked enough about him. So, Doc was my number 7.
Sweet.
All right.
Number 6. Number 6, Naga hide.
Yes.
Pork belly, Yobo. Stick around, buddy. All right. I didn't think, because he's not one of my favorites either, that I was going to like this dude as much as I do.
Yeah.
But man, oh man.
Such a good set.
And he's unique, right?
Yeah.
Like, he's unique. From the leopard print vest, right? The tattoo on the head, the claw marks across the top. That's why I took his hat off.
Yeah.
Because you have to show that off. The wrist blade, right? The compound bow, the pets, sniper rifle with the case.
Yep.
Dude, as we get around, you'll see it. Knife on the back of the belt with a specific and special sheath.
Yep.
Okay, it's not your standard one, right?
Yep, it's not a little cheap sheath.
That's right. And then you have your necklaces too. Then they gave him the great like chops with the the mustache. You still the tattoo on the shoulder. I mean just everything about this dude. I did not think that I really was gonna like him. I got him, but man, once I got him out, and I know he's been around a while, so for a lot of people they're like, "How the hell did you not get him out?" Okay,
Yeah.
but that's just how it is. And so. Man, I love this guy. I love him more than when he showed up. And the more and more that I look at him and everything he comes with, this is the epitome of like deluxe figure.
Yeah. I mean, they nailed it making this guy a deluxe figure, and he was, you think, well, why does he need to be a deluxe? Of course, he had the boar before, didn't have a name, but he did come with the boar, so you kind of thought maybe they would make him a deluxe whenever they got around to making him, but made him, and with the posable boar, with the awesome sculpt, and then give him some more, accessories, give him the little monkey, give him Yabo.
But even with pork belly, like, you've got the nose ring.
Yeah.
Right? You got an earring.
Yeah.
Over here.
Broken tusk.
Yes, man. Like, that's extra, something extra with that too, and I love it, man. I think in the sniper rifle case, no, that's not brand new.
Yeah.
But
you're talking about
green and
reuse. Like all of his main weapons are reuse,
yes.
And I just think he looks good holding the bow. Like I don't even really like that bow. And I don't really care for the knife blade that much. I mean, it looks good. It's silly as hell, but it was an original accessory. Like he had it, Real American Hero. So it was a good choice, man. He's a badass figure. Same as you. I'm really happy with the way he turned out. The head sculpt, the tattoos on his arms and on his head. Studded bracelet. He's just so much there on this guy.
Yeah, dude, there's a lot.
A lot of individual new parts, new mold. So, yeah, he's a good choice, man. I'm glad I wound up picking him up, and I got him, like I said, for the price of a regular figure, but he's worth the price of a deluxe figure.
Yeah, no, I agree, definitely, definitely. The price fits and so what is your number 6?
So my number 6 was actually Wreckage.
Okay.
Which is yet another figure that I wasn't going to get and was blown away with how he looked. His paint is just a Firefly repaint. He looks 10 times better than Firefly. So Wreckage made it up way further than I would have ever thought on my list at number 6.
Sweet. I like to hear that. Definitely. Right. Number 5. Road Pig and Raucous. I love this guy, man. This is like a completely new mold. Everything about it. Like, and I liked this guy when I was a kid because he was the muscle and he reminded me of like Mad Max, He just had that post-apocalyptic vibe.
Yep.
And so they stuck with this with the shoulder pads, right, and the spikes. Obviously, the freaking cinder block, hammer, and then this custom specialized one with the pig head on it and the spikes too. He could tenderize some meat or tenderize some joes with that.
Yep.
But lots of accessories with the shield, obviously the dog, this head sculpt here, then the completely different head. And I haven't gauged how much people really enjoy that completely different head with the helmet on it. It's almost like, freaking horror movie.
I love it.
Yeah, I think it's super cool.
I love it.
And then obviously the muzzle, and then the what the hell's that thing called right there?
A hook.
Yeah, hook, I guess.
It's just
a hook.
Yeah, it's like a meat hook.
Right. Yeah. Meat. Yeah.
It's not like a different version of what come with Crocmaster. But it's a different version. They give us a whole new one for him.
You got the wrist crossbow on there. Good sculpting though on these shoulder pads, man. The white flat top with the red painted hair around the back. I mean, they just nailed it. Now, depending on what head sculpt you like, right? Whether it's the open mouth kind of goofy look, or whether he's got the closed mouth like the one down here up front where he's mad. But you also get, your two head sculpts with the pup as well. And I just think he looks great. I think he's different. He's a big boy.
Yeah.
I think this is a big boy done right, but he does suffer from looseness a little bit because of the weight also. So if you get a little bit of loose ankles with that kind of weight,
Yep.
you might have some issues there. But, they even went so far, with him without having the shirt underneath and the tattoos, to even give him like the fat rolls and everything.
Yeah.
And
that was what a lot of
He's not
people.
just buff. He's chubby.
That was one thing a lot of people did not like about this figure was he was not just a wall of muscle.
I don't need that.
Yeah, I don't either.
Yeah.
I'm glad they went a different route with him.
I am too.
He's more of like a strong man look than a power lifter. Like a chiseled Mr. Olympus.
You wouldn't want to come across this dude regardless whether he was Arnold Schwarzenegger or whether he looked like this. He'd just sit on you, or fall on top of you and keep you down.
Yeah.
There's nothing you could do about it.
Yeah, this is one of the best sculpted figures and accessories in the line. You could tell that this dude was made with a love.
Yeah,
like they
man.
wanted to kill this figure.
Yes.
He wasn't just another dude. We got to get him out, and we're gonna mix this part and that part. Like he got all knew everything. About this figure. I love him.
And he's got chaps.
Yes.
Come on.
You can't go wrong with chaps. Fortunately, he is wearing pants under the chaps. I think that might have missed the mark.
That might have missed the mark.
No,
considering his size.
I compare him to Humongous, as you said in Mad Max. They went that route with him. I love everything about this figure except that really loose left ankle. But you can still get him in some poses. It's not bad enough. You can't pose him. Yeah, it was a good pick, man. I absolutely love this figure. They killed it. And again, not one of my favorite Dreadnoks. When we were kids, you always picked this guy.
I loved him.
Dreadnoks.
Definitely. I used to like using Ripper as well. Maybe Buzzer not as much, Torch Ripper, but him and for some reason like Thrasher. But I think it has to do with the Thunder Machine, right? But yeah, he was one I always went to, for sure.
And, like we said, people talked about they don't like that they made him chubby. They don't like the dopey head sculpt. Go back and look at the Real American Hero road pick.
Yeah.
And it's just a different version of kind of dopey and, just kind of, resting dick face, I guess.
Yeah.
So,
no, I'm glad there's a couple different head sculpts so you can play around with it, and plus the one with the mask and everything too.
Yeah, I like the head sculpts, but I do usually keep him on the shelf with the pig mask. Because he's their muscle, like you said. He's just a big terrifying brute. Goes in to scare people, and he completely nails it. It's got a shield. I don't use the shield, but they even put a lot of paintwork and detail into repurposing Shockwave's shield for him.
Yep.
Looks 10 times better than it did with Shockwave.
Agreed.
So it's a good pick.
Yeah, man. What is your number 5?
So my number 5, consult my list here. My number 5 is Once a Man Cobra Commander.
Okay, number 5.
So he slithered his way up to number 5.
That's cool.
So
I like it.
So alrighty, that is number 5. Number 5.
Number 4. Number 4, Iron Grenadier. Yeah! Come on, man. What is not to like about this dude?
Some people found stuff.
I'm sure they have. I know when it comes to the sword and the sheath and what side and all that kind of stuff, right? I get it. I totally do. And if that's a sticking point for you, not you, but some people I know, I understand that. I really do. And I would have also, yes, preferred on the other side, I think. But just overall, man, like, I'm sorry, dude. This is that evolution of the Cobra infantry or the Cobra Guard, right? It's the evolution, And when these guys came out, it was like, ooh, okay, like this is, Destro now has a
His
gold
own
head.
faction.
He's got his own faction, right? And these guys fit right in, man. Shiny boots.
Yeah.
Like shiny boots.
Them shiny stripper boots.
That's right. But I love the uniform. My son would probably really love this uniform because it does harken back to almost like a German kind of stormtrooper.
Yeah, very, very inspired by that.
And but just the gold, while not super shiny, really, it's a little bit muted on there. But I mean, I do like kind of a little bit of I say upgrade, but newer take on the older figure. And with the tails, obviously, with the long coat, maybe some people feel maybe that's a hindrance when it comes to posing and stuff like that. I can understand that.
It is a little bit.
Mm-hmm. I can understand that, but I just think they nailed it. The mask, the helmet, the strap across, the shoulder. I'm good with the weapons. I know, having a couple of those machine guns, double machine guns, might be a little overkill maybe for some.
Well, one is, they come with one.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
I just have two of them, and they're all in the same bag.
Yeah, my mistake, y'all.
So they come, he's got the one,
He has
and then
one.
the AK or the
and
AR.
And then the one laser gun, really. Right?
Yeah, I mean, call a spade a spade.
Yes.
That's Destro's laser pistol.
Yes.
With gold highlights.
But I love everything about this guy. Some people say, well, there's not enough on him, right? There's not enough maybe colors. I mean, but I don't know what else you do. I think it's just a great update. I think he looks fantastic. But just this coat.
Oh yeah. And the inside, the back has the piping coming around now where you guys can see the back, but the inside is red that folds in, and the inside of the coat is red. I couldn't want more out of aesthetics for this figure myself. People had an issue with the fact that this was a later version of the Iron Grenadier that we got before a more modern, or more classic Real American Hero with the tails, the gray pants instead of the black. And I wasn't thrilled when I first saw it, but I still thought he looked really cool. But in person, it don't matter. If you don't have this figure, you need it.
Yeah, I mean, I like the gray pants, and it's a comic line. Isn't it a comic line that this came from?
It's either the Pursuit of Cobra or it's one of the later iterations.
Because I knew that was different than the original. But this works for me just fine. And he's high up on my list. I'm sorry, I love it.
My only complaint with this figure is they did not give him the Uzi.
Yeah,
and it's in the line.
Yep.
Just like Snow Serpent with the AK.
Right.
It's already in the line. I think people that were unhappy with anything about this figure, that would have placated him a whole lot, or gone a long way toward placating him if he at least had the Uzi. So, like you, I'm not a huge fan of him coming with the LMG, but also you got to think that somewhere in those ranks that one of these guys is going to be a squad support or something and carry one. They painted, we got the red highlights with it. It looks good, and that is a good weapon in this line.
I mean, besides, give him an Uzi. If you want him to have an Uzi, give him an Uzi.
Yeah. We got enough.
That's what I mean. So. Sometimes, some of that stuff, other than your paint apps, sometimes some of that stuff's just a little too much for me. I'm like, just give him the gun you want then, if you don't like it. But
it's not hard to find different guns. So
No.
I do wish he come with it, but that's my only gripe with this figure.
But I love it. I love the paint, the gold, the buttons, everything, I think it looks fantastic. So that's my number 4.
All right.
What's your number 4?
Oh, for number 4, I have the Iron Grenadier.
Hey, success.
Yeah. So that's the first time we've got the same number.
Yeah, same number.
A couple of same figures.
Yes.
Yeah, he made it really high up on my list too for all the reasons we just talked about. I'm really pleased with this figure.
I just love it, that aesthetic dude, and I can't wait till we get Destro to go along with it.
Yeah, I mean,
Right.
a lot of people are taking the head off a Prophet Director and putting them on either one of these guys, you know, or on one of these guys to have him in the same uniform. Looks really good. The golds are a little off, but it looks good.
But we need that. We need that.
Yeah, with the cape and the gold shoulder pauldron fins. Yeah, I think we'll see him in the next year. So
Yeah, oh for sure.
I'm ready
I
for
would
him.
think so. So yeah, so that's my number 4.
Yep.
On to number 3. Number 3. Chip, Raptor, Talon, and General Ledger is my number 3. And if you guys had seen what we just went through to get this going, you might not think he's number 3.
You notice the Lazy Susan is not spinning.
He was acting like a number 2.
Yeah, he was being
Anyway, I love this guy. I didn't think that I would. I thought this was so stupid. Yeah. And even back in the day, it's like you get the guy and you're like, what do I do with this
How do I even play with this
How do you play with him? Where does he fit in? It's where you started to get your crystal ball and shit like that, right? And it's just kind of like, what are they doing? You know, what's the goal here? And a guy with wings and a freaking, bird helmet, right? But I thought they did a bang-up job. I thought this is awesome. I thought the wings are awesome, bringing in, the mechanical design, like the Vulture from the Spider-Man comics. And then, obviously, giving him a pet, which I don't necessarily think he needed. On his box art, you see several. I think if you'd have given him maybe 3 or something.
He had one.
He did. But, I mean, if you'd have given him maybe 3 and maybe done a little more, with it. But, I mean, I just think overall, I could do away with those.
They're awful.
I could do away with those. But the figure itself, I actually really love him. And I didn't think that I would. But the more and more that I mess with him, the more and more that I got him in hand, I just think they did a crazy great job of bringing this guy several decades forward and actually making a believer out of people.
Yeah.
With a figure that's so strange and a design and kind of what is his purpose.
Yep.
But I love him, man. So he's up on my list. He's number 3.
I think that's a whole lot of people's feelings on Raptor. It's mine. I mean, how else? I mean, he was silly enough in 1987. So how are you going to take that and bring it into 2004 into a more modern military type line, even though we still got our fantasy elements in it? How are you going to do that? And going with the mechanical wings with the thrusters, that was the way to go, and they absolutely nailed it. I don't understand. Some people have gripes with the wing assembly. I think it looks great, articulates well.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, it's extremely articulated, and you can do so many different things with it.
A lot of different poses you can get those wings in. Just the sculpt, the paintwork on this guy is fantastic. He's got a lot of shading, a lot of blending. The sculpted feathers on the boots.
Yeah.
On his wrist gauntlets, and then around the plume on his little bird hat.
And you can't see, obviously, the tattooing on his back because of the wings, right? But you've got the tattooing on the back.
Tribal looking tattooing. The only thing I really did not like with this guy was the wings needed another attachment point, like metalheads, rocket launchers, where they have 2 pegs.
Right.
I wish they'd have done that.
A little more secure.
They could have worked it into the aesthetic, because it's really easy to, if not knock them off, bump them sideways while you're posing him.
Yeah.
And he's so hard to pose, getting the weight right when you try to straighten him up while he's already posed. A lot of times you'll lose it. But, I mean, look at him. I mean, once you get it, I mean, he looks great for pictures. I mean, he's great for playing with. You want to take him and fly him around and go, call.
But I mean,
call.
just the wingspan too of the wing. This thing is massive,
Yeah,
man. Like great reach.
Trying to remember, I measured it. I think it's like 14 inches or something, tip to tip.
Wow,
Tip
that's
to tip.
massive.
It's pretty large.
Holy moly.
So.
No, I do though. I like him enough that I moved him up to number 3 on my list. And this was a guy that I really didn't care for back in the day. But they, like I said, they kind of made a believer out of me with this design and an update.
He made a lot of lists. He's made watched one other top 10 review that he made that list, and that one was pretty surprising. He's on Lawrence's list.
Okay.
He's in Lawrence's list. So I really like him too. I got, like I said, only complaint is I wish the backpack was a little more supported. I don't like the claws. They're a nice inclusion, but they don't really fit.
They're not needed, and I agree with you. I think I would have liked to have seen something more shorter but talon based still, but not that like ninja design.
Yeah,
right?
That's kind of what I felt like. It's a little more like Serpentors, where he had the short blades and then the long blades. Give him some maybe do the wrist snap with them, because those are meant for him to hold them. Right. Do the wrist snap like they did with Naugahyde's blade. Right. Put them on there. Won't be in the way of General Ledger there squawking around on his arm. So, but yeah, this is a great figure. A lot of playability with him. So for my number 3, I had somebody that we've already looked at. I put him a little higher. It's Road Pig.
Okay.
Road Pig and Raucous were my number 3.
I can understand why. They're great.
Yeah, I like them that much, so they were my number 3.
That's awesome.
Number 2.
All right. Some say he's loosey-goosey. Some say he looks like a leather daddy.
He definitely looks like a leather daddy.
Some say he looks like Lemmy from Motorhead.
Yep.
I say he's Dreadnought Torch. I actually love this figure. I love this sculpt, man. I love the weapon. I love the torch. I really, actually, to be honest with you, I love all the Dreadnoughts. I like what they've done with all of them. I know we had issues with Buzzer's glasses. I'm kind of glad that these are not removable. But last year, Ripper was my number 1. This dude's pretty high up on my list. I really do. I love what they've done with all of them. Just checking it out. I mean, like right now, dude, I don't know. There's just not much that I can say. I mean, I think this figure speaks for itself. I can see where a lot of people would say, well, I like Ripper better. I don't think anybody's going to feel that way about Buzzer.
No.
I definitely see that about Road Pig. Naugahyde even is a great figure. But, when I got this guy and got him out, I don't know, something about that look, man. I mean, I think they just absolutely nailed it from the classic design. I'm good with him. He's up there for me. I don't know. Maybe it's just that with the Dreadnoughts, the older I've gotten, the more that I appreciate them. But I just feel like they've done a bang up job, especially the original 3.
Yeah.
Bringing them, into the 6-inch line, and I actually really love the effects too. So yeah, he's my number 2. I don't know what else to say, really. I mean, I don't know how you feel about it.
Yeah, awesome sculpt. Everything they did with him. He's got the spiked bicep bracelet. He's got, or whatever, bicep wrap. The studded jacket.
Studs.
Nice molded painted chains going around. Got the chain belt, flame tattoos. The skull necklace. They've got the buckles, the zippers on his vest. Everything's painted.
Chain belt.
Yep. Really awesome sculpt work on this guy. I don't have a problem with the Torch other than they misspelled Knox, and I know they tried to play it off like, oh,
Right.
well, Torch is a
He's
literate.
right.
Well, yeah, Torch is also a member of a motorcycle club, and he'd never get away with spelling the name of it wrong.
Right.
I can't let that one go, Hasbro. It's a nitpick.
That's good.
But the sculpt, man, I love this figure. He's probably he's probably my third best Dreadnought. I'm all about the original 3 Knocks. I love them. Torch was my least favorite of the original 3, but he's still original 3. So yeah, that's a good pick. Don't mind it a bit. My problem with my Torch is he's really loose. He's hard to pose. He's really, really wobbly. Like, this one is almost as bad as my Buzzer was, which is a shame because he looks 10 times better than Buzzer.
Yeah.
I wish they maybe had have included a sculpt with removable glasses, but I'm not going to nitpick that because they probably wouldn't fit anyway.
Yeah, I just don't see it. I don't see how you do it, not with that hair.
Yeah.
And I mean, unless you gave him a buzz cut, or something that was like,
They'd have to slip in under the hair,
And I don't even,
I'm fine with it.
Yeah.
It looks really good. They did it right. What they should have done was done the other 2 Dreadnoughts with fixed glasses or another head sculpt.
I don't need to see them without them.
We've never seen any of them without their glasses. Ripper's really good. Of course, Buzzer's absolute trash.
Yes,
so
garbage.
they did this one right by just molding them on. So.
But I like the flame patches on the ass.
Yeah.
Like
back pockets.
I mean, it's fun. The tall boots with the high knee pads like that too. I don't know. I just really like this figure, man. I mean, it's he looks like he's about to lead up, a gang from the Blue Oyster Bar.
Yep.
He's ready to rock and roll.
Burn some stuff down. They're gonna burn the oyster down tonight.
But I do love it, and I do love the blowtorch too. Yeah. And I get the misspelling on the tank, and they can explain that away all they want to, really. I mean, but it still doesn't ruin the figure for me.
This is a figure that does really suffer from the bendability of the plastic in the weapons, because the Torch for him it looks fantastic,
but it curves.
It stays curved.
Yep.
It'll bend with the blast effects.
Yep.
It bends if you try to get him holding it two-handed.
But the skull with the flaming eyes too, like that's a cool effect, like that's a cool touch. I just think there's some unique stuff, and I like uniqueness.
Yeah.
I really do, and even if there is some reused parts on some figures, I like it when they're able to do different paint or whatever, make them unique, and so I like him. So he's my number 2. What about you, man? What's your number 2?
My number 2, get down the list here, was one that I probably think people will might find a little controversial. My number 2 is actually Big Boa.
Okay.
I love that figure.
He is cool.
I was so impressed with that. I was more impressed with how much I liked Big Boa than I was with how much I liked Raptor.
Okay.
And we just talked about Raptor, so.
And just weird figures that you don't know what you do. I mean, it's like, is he Cobra Muscle? I guess, but he's almost kind of super specific usage, like he's a trainer, or he works in a gym.
Cobra trainer.
And he's a, and it's like an undercover, gym to recruit Cobra soldiers or something.
Yeah,
right?
However you want to work him in.
Right.
But he's not a guy you see out front leading the charge with a machine gun.
No. But, I mean, boxing gloves. I don't think he's a guy you want running out there with no protection. Yeah, right. But I do love him, and I actually am impressed with what they did with him.
Yeah,
bringing him up to date. You getting the different hands and head sculpts and stuff like that makes it a lot of fun too.
Spiky spikes, all his spikies are spiky.
Mm-hmm.
So that was my number 2, is Big Boa. I see a lot of people probably disagreeing with that choice. But
I don't know. I mean,
that's how much I liked him.
And it's your list, right? I mean, that's just the way it is.
My list.
Exactly.
My list.
And Torch is number 2 on mine. He may not be that way for a lot of people.
Yep.
Right?
So, all right, let's take a look at some. What do we want to do?
I was going to say, before we get to number 1, We'll look at a most disappointing, and we'll look at a couple honorable mentions.
All right, let's do that.
Most disappointing. Speaks volumes, right? Nemesis, Immortal. I was excited to maybe get this guy because as we talked about figures that from that time period, something weird, something different, you want to bring them into the new age. And I get it. I know that this is reminiscent of the Cobra Commander limited issue run. That's supposed to be the Energon universe, Nemesis, Immortal. Number one, this guy is just unwieldy I'm surprised he's actually staying up there right now.
I am too. If you just picked him up from the way that where I had him and how I had him sitting over there, and it looks like you did, took a little bit of work to get him balanced and posed in something that looks halfway decent because he will not stand up.
And normally I don't, and I've talked about this, normally I don't just use like, is a guy really loose or is an ankle loose or whatever. But I think everybody experienced this issue. The swords don't stay in the hands.
No.
And of course he's got, the balled up fists, hands. So you can't use those with it. But yeah, the sword, they just flop around. There's no way possible you can make those work. And I appreciate the wings. I get it, the aesthetic, and it looks cool. This creature here, the multi-snake, thing. And with Cobra Law, what they're trying to introduce and bring into that, especially with the Energon universe, it's just, I would have preferred it to be the classic Nemesis, obviously Enforcer they can't use, but Immortal, or just maybe a different design. I get the armor, the wrist blades, right? And as Lenny called it, chitin, and he used that many times, a hard kind of shell, and even on the wings, the shoulders of the wings. So I get what they were going for, but I'm not crazy about the colors, really. And the head sculpts, I'm not real thrilled about either. And overall, just as a figure, yes, he's unwieldy. He is a big guy. We just talked about one. We talked about Road Pig, right? But just disappointed. And I did a review on this guy. Very rare to do one. But I did do a review on him. But at the end of the day, he is probably my most disappointing this year of what we've gotten.
I think he tops a lot of people's most disappointing classified this year. And I was actually, this was the worst kept secret for forever. We knew this guy was coming. And I was kind of excited for him. I'm not the biggest Cobra Law fan, but as I've said in the past, if you look at it like it's a mirror universe or a multiverse kind of thing, or maybe that backstory for Cobra instead of the backstory that we know for Cobra Commander, you can make it work in your head. So once we saw him, I was really excited for him. I do like the way he looks. I like everything about how he came out. I like the colors. I love the bat wings. I like the way that Lenny described it with he was just assembled from various parts of dead organic matter. I think that translates. I think that looks good as armor. It looks like the chitin, where it's shell of some sort, bone. I like all of it. The swords I do not like. If you can barely get them to hold in his hand, but if you bump them, like he's holding them on a wing in a prayer, and they don't look right when you do get them stationary. I think
you twist them sideways in there.
You can get his finger around the little white part, the little curvature, but it's like he's holding them too far up, and he's going to cut his own finger off. If you try to hold them and turn them sideways, like you were saying, he will hold them, but they fall out like that. I like the bat wings. They're translucent. They got little tears and things in them. I really do like the way that he came out. I like the little creature. My main issue with this figure, because he would have been on my list. If this figure had been solid, he would have been a probably a top 5 figure for me, but he is so incredibly loose and floppy, and he's so big. He's next to impossible to pose. But I think they did a good job with the colors, the paint on him, the dry, little bit of dry brushing on the white. I think he looks really good, and they did a good job making people excited to get this figure, but it missed the mark because it's just not constructed well. And for once, it's just not seemingly the one that I got. Everybody got one that was a piece of crap. Just once, when they do these figure reveals and they do the video for Hasbro, I want them to get out a figure that they can't pose because the son of a bitch won't stand up.
Right.
Because the ankle is loose or the wrist joint is loose, and Lenny has to sit there and struggle to get the thing to stand up just one time. So maybe they'll say, you know what, maybe we need to tighten some stuff up before we send this out.
Yeah, and at the same time, maybe the ones that they have to use are actually tightened up.
I'm sure they picked the best of the batch for the ones they're going to use, because I hadn't seen that yet on one they show us.
Right.
So
you know,
I agree.
but yeah, he's I don't know, for me, for different reasons than for you, as most disappointing. For sure, but that's my most disappointing of 2024. What about you?
He was my most disappointing of 2024, although I had a runner-up for most disappointing, and it's one we haven't seen yet.
Okay.
That is Storm Shadow V5.
Right. Right.
The V2 Real American Hero version. Storm Shadow that we just got. That's a disappointing figure for me, and I think it's going to be for a lot of people just because of the posability. I think he looks really good, but you can't do much with him unless you're willing to cut that skirt off of him, and I'm not.
Right.
I think he looks good, but he's just going to sit right up there on the shelf, and, you can't see him. He's barely out of frame.
No, you can't see
you don't
him.
have to
He's
grab
up
it.
there, he's up there.
But he was also another disappointment for me this year, but number one for sure was Nemesis Immortal.
All right. On to honorable mentions quickly, and then a number one.
Number one in a minute.
Honorable mentions. My 2 honorable mentions. Wreckage, Tiger Paw, Twilight Guard. I love both these figures, actually. Twilight Guard almost actually ended up on my list. I don't know. There's something about this figure I really enjoy. Obviously, the Crimson Guard helmet, and uniform to an extent with the new armband on there. But I love the cape. I love the purple highlights in there with the black,
it looks good.
And the gray. And then the orange on the inside of the cape is just super cool.
Sets it off, man.
I really do. And I didn't think much about him. I'm not a big fan of the Steel Corps Commander. But I did really, really like this guy that came with it.
Yeah.
And just with the Cobra symbol, and it's just the nice kind of gray or silver, if you will, right? But it's very, I don't know if it's underrated in my opinion. I know a lot of people just say, well, there's not a lot to this guy, maybe. But the helmet is also the shiny black.
Yeah.
And I think that helps set it off as well. The sword and the sheath are on the correct side.
Yep.
And then with Wreckage, I really like the camo pattern. Tiger Paw is a super cool ATV. Obviously love the helmet as well, right? You've got kind of your cross outs there for your chalking up the number of enemies taken out or whatever.
And it's a bunch. It's like 7.
It is.
He's chalked up.
But I do. I really like that figure too. I don't know. I would. He obviously almost ended up on my list of top 10. And I almost kind of want to stay away from like the vehicle kind of thing. Is it even with clutch maybe or whatever. Just thinking about that. But considering just the figure alone, but with the ATV is great. But yeah, I think it's great. I think the head sculpt too. With the mask and the eye.
Yeah.
It just looks great, and I really like it. I didn't think I would. I waited a long time to actually get it. Everybody was on a mission to find him.
Yeah, it was hard.
Where's it at? Can't get him. And I happened to just waltz into Target one day and find him. And I was like, I don't have him, but now that I've looked at it more,
Yeah.
I like it, so I scooped him up. So those are my 2 honorable mentions. What about you?
Very, very good picks. Obviously, Wreckage is on my list. He made my actual top 10 list. Twilight Guard almost did. I really love that figure. Probably the best mishmash kind of figure that we've gotten.
Sure.
Amalgamation of other figures. And Wreckage, obviously, I said it earlier, Wreckage is a better Firefly than Firefly. And
Right.
I think putting him with the Tiger Paw was a smart move because
Yeah.
not a lot of people would have wanted to get this guy who didn't know what he was because
I
of that.
agree. Yeah, I agree. Actually, you're right. I think that was a smart move.
And my main fear of Wreckage was that a lot of people had that really loose torso issue with Firefly.
Mm-hmm.
And lo and behold, they actually tightened it up and fixed it for this figure, and I'm glad they did. So he's a fantastic figure. So a couple good picks. So my runners up, I did have 3 runners up. So and 2 of them we haven't looked at yet. So my first runner up was Torch.
Okay.
Torch would have 100% been on my list if my experience with Torch wasn't bad because my figure is really loose.
Yeah.
Hard to pose. His Torch is hard to pose because it's floppy. So Torch almost made my list. He barely got shoved off of it. So my next runner up was the Ferret Scout.
Okay.
For
Yeah.
the Ferret.
Super cool. I like it.
Love that figure so much. It's just a repaint and new accessory piece for the Valkyrie.
Yeah, it's still cool.
But I just love the way it come out. It just looks so good. Basics just comes with 2 pistols, and of course the Ferret. But just going on the figures, I love that figure.
Yeah.
And then my last runner up was Retro Beachhead.
I took a long look. at him. He was very close for me.
Yeah.
And I can understand why he would be in that, almost.
There were a lot
missed.
on the bubble.
Sure. I mean, there's some really good ones, and then there were some, like Falcon and Coral, or just some ones that just really weren't on my radar, I guess.
Yeah.
And this guy, how he ended up on my radar, the Twilight Guard. I don't have a connection to that particular figure at all.
No.
I mean, but once I got him out and got him in hand, I was like, man, I really, really like this figure.
Yeah, it's a really good figure, man. I love
yeah.
the design on both of those. So, yep, good runners up.
Yep.
They could have been on anybody's list.
It's on to number one. Number one. Number one for me. Everything I wanted out of G.I. Joe Classified. If you're going to go back and pull from different things, right? I love this figure. I really do. I think it is freaking awesome. It's straight out of the movie. They nailed it, man.
Yeah.
The snake and the fact that you can really open it up, kind of wrap it around Roadblock or whoever you want, right? You want to recreate it and do those photos. But the fact that the cracked mask has the interior on it as well, right? I think, obviously you guys know that, have seen it, but I'm not going to show it off like a review. We'll leave them up here. But, with the helmet on, you still get your gun, right? But every time I look at this dude, man, and I see that sculpting on the face and the body, the torn vest, right, uniform coat comes off so you can see all of it, up the spine and everything. The paint apps and the different colors that they use to shade in the reptilian features on it, on the arms, the
Blended
face,
the
especially
scales,
blended it. Yes, the teeth on the mouth, and right, what I mean, the eyes, and you get the kind of the blue, whatever the heck that is, right? Pustule. Top.
And they match up to the snake.
Yes.
To little Snakey. They match him on my eyes.
I just think this is what it's all about, man. I think it's fun. Obviously, you even got where, on the vest itself, the discoloring on the bottom
it's
of
ripped.
it, right? It's ripped, and it's kind of looks like either, mud, or it looks like something,
The pants too. His pants cuffs at
Yes.
the bottom are dirty.
Yes. I just, man, everything about it, he's my number one. This is exactly what I look for. I don't just look for, that perfect figure
Yeah.
with the perfect uniform. This is going, I think we all knew and hoped we were going to get this,
Yeah.
right? Much
Yeah.
asked for, like your battle armor, Cobra Commander, or your hooded or whatever. But this is fan service at its finest.
Yep.
And so he is definitely, Once a Man Cobra Commander is my number one figure of this year for
Yeah.
G.I. Joe Classified.
I agree with everything you said. He made my list. Like you said, fan service to the nth degree, done right. Not a figure for everybody, and that's fine. You don't have to buy every figure, but you're going to if you're a completionist. But I think this figure won a lot of people over.
Yeah.
Based on the cluster that it was trying to get this figure when he went up on Pulse. That's its whole other thing.
Yeah.
But looking at the figure itself, it's perfect. There was a render that come out a long time ago that I saw of what this figure would look like in Classified. And when I saw that render, I said, if they ever do it, I hope that's how it comes out. I hope it looks just like that. And it's almost like they modeled it after that. It was absolutely perfect. I love this version of Cobra Commander. I've always wanted it. Never had one. I think there was a custom. There were some customs
Sure.
a few years back in 3 3/4. But like you said, the cracked faceplate with the electronics behind it, little snake, the paint apps, it is damn near a perfect figure. I absolutely love it, and I think they killed it with this figure. So I think anybody that has this figure and does a list, it's definitely going to be on there.
I can't imagine him getting left off of any top tens,
No matter how much you hate Cobra Law, because that's what we
Right.
heard. I hate Cobra Law.
Absolutely.
I don't want that figure.
Yes.
And then, it's a good figure. I need to get it, and it's $110.
Right.
So, getting it, even if you had to pay a little extra for this figure, this is one that I would have to say is definitely worth it to have in the collection.
I mean, just looking at it spinning around there, and looking at when he's turned into the snake, right, the Cobra, even more so, right, that transition. Again, the sculpting on it and the detail with just the scales and everything just looks fantastic.
Yeah, they
man.
hid the torso cut in the scales, hid the bicep cut as well as they can hide it, lining up with the scales. Everything, it's a beautifully done figure. I've seen some people have complained because he kind of looks like he has fangs and they didn't paint the fangs.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
They could also be scales. They look like scales as well, right around the lips.
Right.
I mean, whatever.
Yeah, I don't know, man.
You can't even tell that
No.
the sculpt is there, and there are scales that similarly look like that. So I love it.
Just cool because, we've gotten several different Cobra Commanders in the Classified line, right? Including retro, including Mickey Mouse, right? With the hiss and everything. And it's like, what more can you do? Like, what more can you do with this particular character? And, well, of course, we've got a few more looks.
Yeah.
That's some of the later line looks I'm not crazy about, whether that's black or other versions.
The giant eye holes in the mask, but we're not going to have to worry about that.
Right, yeah, that's for sure. But other than battle armor, right,
Yeah.
and a hooded, I mean, this is it.
Yeah.
And for anybody that loved the cartoon back in the day, you may not have liked the movie that much or parts of the movie.
Yeah.
And this was one of the parts I was not a fan
Oh,
of.
no, yeah.
But what they did with the figure, I love it. So
Yeah.
he's definitely my number one.
Straight out
this year.
of the movie. Looks like they reached
Yes.
in the movie and pulled him right out.
Yep.
Only thing I said about this figure was I wish that they'd have had a way to do torn pants too with the scales on the legs.
I see that.
I mean, I can't complain that they didn't. That's just one other thing I would have liked to seen.
Considering they did put a paint app on the bottom of the pants, where the stirrups are.
It didn't take anything away not doing that.
No, but
so
still,
it looks perfectly great. So that's a good choice for number one.
Yep. What you thinking?
He got beat out by the other version. My number one is Retro Card Cobra Commander.
All right.
Cobra Commander is my favorite character. I've said it many times. People ask me who my favorite Cobra is. I assume the rest of that question is other than Cobra Commander. So I want all the Cobra Commanders. I'm even going to buy those crappy ones we just talked about. But the Retro card, as much as I love this one, it's perfect. The Retro card is the perfect Battle Mask Cobra Commander. Even if they hadn't done the chrome on the face mask with the vac metal, even if they hadn't have done that, I think it probably still would have been my figure, but that put it over the top.
Sure.
There's a lot of characters. This was a really good year for figures. We got a lot of good ones. Not a whole lot of misses this year.
Not a lot of misses, but a lot of ordering misses.
Yeah.
A lot of confusion and IT issues, right?
Yeah,
and
with
I don't
Hasbro.
recall that previously where we had maybe these types of issues we've had this year.
Not like this.
But you're right. Not a lot of misses in the figure department. They've done a pretty bang-up job, really, overall, and hopefully moving forward that continues with some of the challenges that Hasbro is facing and what they got going on with their business. We'll see, man. But yeah, I agree with you. It's been a good year for figures.
Yeah, we've got some really good, figures that we didn't want, and they're some of the best figures. I mean, we got Big Boa and Raptor on our lists.
Vehicles.
We're getting into the vehicles now. We're getting some good vehicles. We're going to be getting more, so I'm excited to see what they do. My wallet is not, but,
No, that's for sure. But yeah, excited about the new year, and obviously looking back on this one. So man, it's fun.
And that is it, ladies and gentlemen, for the 2024 wrap-up with me and Pop Blender. Pop Blender, tell everybody where and when they can find you.
All right. On the Pop Blender YouTube channel is where you can find me. Every Tuesday, I do a show called The Evening Blend with Matthew Matson. It is a pop culture, movies, TV, comics, some action figures, animation, news and reviews from Hollywood. That's at 10 p.m. Eastern every Tuesday on Pop Blender YouTube channel. And every Friday night at 10:30 p.m. I do what's called the Unfiltered Show, which is choosing topics that I want to talk about by myself every Friday, 10:30 p.m. Eastern. That's where you can find me. Thank you.
And it is unfiltered, so make sure everybody's in bed when you guys go to watch that.
Not safe for work on
Friday
Friday
night. Check that one
night.
out. Absolutely not. So you guys are already here on 3-Star Draw. You can find me here doing your reviews, doing a little bit of rants every other Wednesday night with Pop Blender here on Sevens Wild, and then every other Wednesday night back again with the Backyard Battlefield. So that is it for 2024. We will see you guys in 2025.
Yes.
Wrote a top 10 list about it.
Figures, comics, you name it, we'll cover it. And that's every Tuesday at 10 p.m. Eastern. And then every Friday night at 9:30 Central.